Is it a thing? Ooh, that.
Hello and welcome to another reality check here on the channel. I am Matt O'Leary, joined by Jeremy, aka Jets Chaos. Jeremy, how's it going today?
It is going. It is Wednesday, middle of the day. Just had our first couple of days of rain in Sacramento, so it's a big deal. We do a whole dance and celebration in the streets because, every year we worry, what if it doesn't rain? We haven't had rain in 6 months over the summer and spring, and we're going to be in a drought. And then when it rains, we all cheer and get very happy and relieved.
Well, I'm very happy for you for that. Unfortunately, I don't think we did much cheering on Sunday. I popped in with you guys at the half, and it was right after the whole, whatever that was at the end of the first half debacle. But how was it the rest of the way on the channel in the second half?
It was so weird because we were actually in the lead and we still couldn't, no matter how hard we tried, it was so hard to be positive. Like, people complaining, be positive, be positive. And, with the safety, we cheered and, it was exciting. And even though we had the lead, there was this feeling of we lost because we knew, eventually they're going to get a field goal. That's the way the NFL is. But we got the sense that this is not this is he can't do anything, to the point where we were just sitting there. And, as we were complaining about Justin Fields, at some point I was thinking to myself, at what point do we start wondering, this is worse than any Justin Fields we had ever seen before. This is getting me. And, I got to say, since then, Matt, I have suspicion that maybe he got tackled early in that game and that concussion, he's not really better yet, or something's going on.
Maybe because there's really, like you said, I've never seen anything like that before. And week 2 was rough against Buffalo, and he got hurt. He was concussed in that game. But since he came back, I thought he was fine. I didn't think it was setting the world on fire. And obviously there was a lot of garbage time touchdowns, and we talked about that the last couple of weeks, but nothing like this. I mean, -10 net passing yards in a game. That's almost unfathomable, Jeremy, that we saw that on Sunday.
Greenby wouldn't expect it. It wouldn't accept it. He was so funny. He goes, "No, he threw for 45 yards." I said, "Yeah, but he lost 55." And he goes, "That doesn't make sense. He had 45 yards passing." I said, "Yes, but when you tally the final stats, you say all of the running plays made this many yards. When you do all of the passing plays, you have to say negative yards for sacks. Just, that's just the way." I had to literally defend myself. I'm not the one who invented how we do stats. And I told him, I'm just sharing information. We actually ended up with -10 passing yards. That's a reality based on the way stats are recorded.
Yeah, because of all the sacks, 9 sacks in the game, with an average time to sack at, I think it was 3.95 seconds. So almost 4 seconds. That's not one of those games where you can watch and be like, man, offensive line just had a shitty day. When every one of the sacks were nearly 4 seconds, you just gotta, and especially for him too, one, either get the ball out or run. If it's not there, if your first read's not there, just go. What are we doing?
Yeah, it was shocking. It was shocking. But to be fair, it's Wednesday now, right? And last week was last week, and terrible game. We've seen him have better games. I think something was wrong. I think he was under the weather. I think something was wrong. Something was wrong, because even if I go back and watch his bad games, it was never that. Something was wrong. But whatever it is, it's the Aaron Glenn. And it's what he said after the press conference that I think is a lot harder to swallow.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we get into that. There was an update today. So we spoke with the media today, and there was an interesting quote. So I was going to share that, which will add more context to his Justin Fields conversation from after the game, and then we'll get into it. So here's Aaron Glenn from earlier today. And he's being asked if Justin Fields should take more chances.
I think you said after the game you'd like to see him give guys a chance, something to that think. Do you think he maybe needs to take a few more chances in terms of it? It's not not wide open. Let's try a 50-50 ball. Let's try to give Garrett a chance or Josh a chance.
Yeah, here's what I do know is, and you're right, and I've said that, and I still believe that, and I think that's for any quarterback, especially when you have man coverage to give a guy a chance. But I do know if something bad happens, you guys are going to be about him, So the thing is, he just got to go out there and play quarterback and do the best that he can. But I don't come off that at all. When you're in man coverage, you got to give a guy the chance to go catch the ball.
I think you said
If something happens, meaning if a mistake happens, then you guys are just going to bitch about that. Is the quote of the day, which, like you were saying, to piggyback, that's what I wanted to do, piggyback off the quote from Sunday. He was asked, is Justin Fields going to start next week? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. Almost dismissive of Brian Costello's question. What do you make of one of the comments from Sunday and what we just heard now?
I don't mind when he it's weird to have a coach be that, because I've thought that too. I thought when we've said things like, oh, we just need to throw it up in that situation. Then at the same time, we need to shut up when they throw it up in that situation and it's an interception. If we're going to ask for things, we do have to be prepared for it. But I would rather have him just say, go into what the plan is, what they're telling him, how are you coaching him? What is the thought process? And the right answer for a coach would be, well, that's situational, right? If you have a lead, you don't just throw a 50-50 ball that could be an interception, right? But if you're down, then you have to start to take chances. So I would have rather him just do a more coachy answer, but a more logical, thoughtful answer, just about having him take chances depends on game situation, and I could have even accepted that game was close the whole way, so we didn't want him taking any chances. But at the end, he clearly messed up, because why wouldn't you take chances at the end? On 4th and 8, you don't take the sack. You just chuck the ball as high as you can in the air and hope for a miracle.
And hope someone makes a play on it. And
we watched Zach Wilson do that against Detroit once, and it almost got us back, and we almost saved the game. I don't know if you remember, Zach Wilson was once scrambling, and he just threw this wild ball up in the air. We actually laughed at it, but it was because he didn't want to take the sack. At least he knew to just chuck the ball. And it ended up being a reception, and we almost came back in that game. So, I think that we all agree. It's why didn't he on that last play, on that 4th down, just chuck the ball at that point?
Yeah, you're right. My only criticism, and for the most part, I think I've been pretty fair with Aaron Glenn, and I'm rooting for him. I want him to be the answer here. I just think after a game where he in particular had some really questionable decisions at the end of the first half, after the game reacted the way that he did to the question about Justin Fields, and was also talking in the post game, I'm not going to send Nick Folk out there for a 68-yard field goal when it was a lot closer to a 60. So did he not realize where they were on the field? Right. And the way that the offense played, I don't know. Sometimes you got to just get up there and eat it and take your medicine. You don't have to keep going back and forth almost with the media. And I get it. Johnny's in here, F the media. I agree, man. That's all people do is bitch. They're 0-6. That comes with the territory. If you don't want people to bitch, then you gotta find a way to win a game or two.
You have to, in that situation, kick the 60-yard field goal.
Right.
You have to. There's no even debate. Especially the way the game was going. The way the game was going, you had to kick the field. It was your best chance. How do you not do that? And here's what scares me. If he would have said, you know what? I was caught up in the situation. It was a terrible mistake. I should have went for that field goal. I'd feel better about it. Because at least then maybe because him denying it and pushing it aside, not accepting it, makes me afraid. How do we know he's not going to do it again? Let's say he does rebuild the team. Let's say we're in a game in 2 years that's meaningful. And are you telling me you'd make that decision again? Because that's not acceptable if it's a game that determines whether or not we go to the playoffs, right? So, I want him to say, I made that mistake, and maybe consider having a coach or a person responsible next to him, a game manager, to tell him to say, hey, kick the 60-yard field goal, man. Somebody with experience to say.
Herm Edwards had it.
Yeah.
There's no shame in that. Herm Edwards did it. They made the playoffs a bunch under Herm. Like, it's okay. It doesn't have to be a pride thing.
Dude, I'm totally unqualified to be a head coach of a football team. If some weird reason somebody made me the head coach of a football team for whatever freaked and messed up, wild, ridiculous reason, I would hire someone for everything, right? Because that's how would I make it work? Well, let me be really good at delegating authority and power. You're going to be the guy that sits by my side and tells me what to do. Like, I will literally do that. Because I'll acknowledge that I don't know what to do. Because I acknowledge I'm not a head coach. I've never come close to coaching. I'm not qualified to be a head coach. But I know that I know as a fan that if you were looking at a 60-yard field goal and you're watching that game and watching how that game was unfolding, you would be able to logically say that's our best chance to win this game.
Without a doubt. Swamp Ranger chimes in with our first super chat of the day. Thank you to Swamp Ranger. Little off topic, but says they brought in Fields to get the number 1 pick. I don't know if I buy that. And I know, like, he was the quarterback for Chicago a couple times when they had the number 1 overall pick, and once they traded it with obviously the Panthers, and then they ended up taking Caleb Williams, as we know. But I think they were genuinely, like, trying to make this a reclamation project. And we talked about all the guys this whole offseason who had late career resurgences, and we were hoping that Justin Fields was going to be that guy. Look, they took a chance. They took a flyer on a guy who has a lot of athletic upside, has talent, but hasn't been able to put it together. And we've seen that through the 5 games that he's played. He looked awesome in week 1, terrible in week 2 and week 6, and was okay in week 4 and 5.
Story of his career.
Yeah.
Story of his career. And I think a lot of it has to do with, you're going to bump into, and this is the problem long-term, is you're going to bump into coaches like a Sean Payton, right? Like Belichick used to be. They just know how to hurt you. If you have a weakness, they're going to expose it. And the reality is, as you play better teams, they're not going to let Justin Fields succeed. He's never going to have 3 success. Like, we have no chance. He's never going to bring a team to a Super Bowl because eventually you're going to bump into good teams and they know his limitations. And you saw what the limitation was. Stack the box, take away the run, force him to beat you with the pass, and see if he can do it and put him and make him as uncomfortable as you can. And that worked. I still have no explanation of why he didn't do what he always used to do, which run out of the pocket. Yeah. And I think that they're trying to make him a pocket quarterback. And I don't think from to go with Swamp Ranger, I think it might be, I'm going to meet you in the middle. I'm not going to say they're tanking on purpose, but I'm going to say they're willing to do a little bit less to win, to try to accomplish another goal. Like, we're going to try to make you a pocket quarterback, even though that makes us a worse team. But we're going to try to force it. Whereas the best strategy would have been to say, be Justin Fields and start taking off and running.
Yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to go next. I think you bring up a good point. Do you have more issue with how Tanner Engstrand is calling the offense, or do you think it's just the quarterback isn't playing good enough? Like, should Engstrand be putting Fields in better situations, or is it really on the quarterback here? Some of the issues on offense right now.
I am not blaming this on Engstrand. We did this with Mike LaFleur, and it blew up in our face because the truth was, and Green Bean said it a million times, like with LaFleur, when Zach Wilson wasn't the quarterback, we were a top 10 offense in the NFL. Right? You gave that offensive coordinator any competence, and we were good. And we let him walk. Engstrand, man, when the team played well, when the players played well and executed, the offense was beautiful. The plays were beautiful. And we're watching back this game, and we're seeing plenty of games where he schemed people open. They were open. This wasn't the offensive coordinator. This wasn't like, oh, he's not doing anything. He's not trying anything. He had open receivers running around that field. How can an offensive coordinator deal with a quarterback who just holds the ball and doesn't throw it to them? I mean, what offensive coordinator could have fixed that?
No, and like at the end of the game, right before the 4th down play, they had 3rd and 8, and they run like a 5-yard speed out to Garrett Wilson, and he ends up throwing it, but like way too late. It ends up being, a much more difficult play. Garrett, wasn't able to haul it in. He's falling down. He's getting hit on the play. Could he have caught it in a perfect world? Yeah, he probably would have liked to catch it. But if he throws that 2 seconds earlier, he hits him in stride and picks up a first down and the game's over.
There's also you're expecting an NFL quarterback when it's an 8-yard pass or whatever it was. I mean, only we could go out and we see it all the time, like in the parking lot of MetLife before a game and a tailgate party. But you and me could go out in Long Island, Valley Stream on the field.
There we go.
And I could run across and you could throw me a ball 9 out of 10 times where I don't have to stop and go backwards for it. Right?
Right. It's the time.
Right. I never played quarterback growing up. Like on 2-hand touch football, Brooklyn, never was the quarterback. But when I played with my students and kids, I would be the quarterback, right? And I'm telling you, that pass I could throw. Let's say I could do it half the time. Anything that I know a guy that's 50 plus years old that never played quarterback, right, and just was a regular kid growing up in the streets, is telling you, if I could do it half the time and throw that pass correctly, an NFL quarterback should do it 99.99% of the time. I mean, let's be real here. How do you miss that pass?
Yeah, and not only did he, but that was like the personification of the whole game, Jeremy, was just he was late on everything. And if it's just pull the trigger a second earlier, you're there. And I think guys were starting to get frustrated too, because I think it was on first down, he took a sack, and then that was the third down play. I believe they ran the ball on second down. But on the first down sack, Armand Membu, I'm not going to put words in his mouth on what he was saying, but he kind of just like threw his hands up like, what the fuck are we doing here, kind of a thing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and that's another thing, by the way. We get into a whole thing about this attack on GW for being upset and pissed and emotional.
And that too.
If we're screaming and frustrated, how do you blame the players for getting frustrated? I mean, this is their lives, man. This is his career. And he has to deal with this. A new coach comes in, and this is the nonsense he's putting up with. Of course he's going to get frustrated and mad. I'd be worried, and this is why it's so hard to please fans, is don't we get even madder when they don't care? Like, how angry do we get when the players don't seem to care?
Right. You can't have it both ways.
Right. Do you want them to care or not care? I mean, that was ridiculous. End of the half, you're running the clock down. Why would you not just chuck the ball?
I wish I had an answer for you, Jeremy. I don't know. I can't get into his head from that game, and clearly he was in his own head because he was just doubting everything he was seeing because he wasn't comfortable enough to just say, "Hey, something's here. Let me throw it." Right? He was doubting himself and wasn't throwing the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a tough. I mean, look, this wasn't about the playoffs or not the playoffs. To me, it's the reaction to it all. To me, it's I want assurances that I would rather just hear we learn from these mistakes. And if it's going to somehow turn this team around, right? Because I'm not sitting there saying anything's impossible. I'm not at that place where I'm saying it's impossible that he's going to be the coach and somehow turn this all around at some point. Like maybe we win a few games this year and then next year he gets more of his guys in, whatever. But I want to know that he's learning from the mistakes. So what I would like to see is admissions of it, of saying, yeah, that was a mistake. We learned from that. We're never going to do that again. Just some humanness to it rather than this almost like this arrogance or this like macho denial of clear, mistakes that we all know were mistakes.
How about this angle? James chimes in with the super chat. Thank you, James. Says, hypothetical. Salah had wins in 22 and 23 because teams didn't respect him. Teams played 24 and AG hard because they are respecting them. I don't know if I'm there on that. Jeremy, what do you think?
I mean, I think teams play hard. Like, I think in the NFL, I think we overanalyze this in the sense of imagining that this isn't the real case. Like Sean Payton gets the Denver Broncos to play hard every week. That's why he's Sean Payton, right? I don't think that Sean Payton said it's AG. So, we have to play really extra hard. Salah was like last year, Denver barely beat us. They, and we could have won that game with that missed field goal. So I can't buy into that. I just have to say that I think that wins are hard in the NFL. Yes. And that's why the coaches have to be really, really good and know what they're doing. And they also have to be willing to learn and grow constantly and always looking to evolve.
Yeah, and also too, they won in 22 and 23 because they had a top 5 defense. They don't have a top 5 defense anymore. They played really well against the defense played well against Denver, but I feel like we're glossing over that, Jeremy, because we're so focused on just how bad the offense is. We can't even celebrate the win of the defense playing well and the return of Jermaine Johnson and Jarvis Brownlee coming in and playing good football.
Yeah, I know. And we should stop with the negative. The offense was horrible. Fields had a horrible game. The offensive line needs to improve in some areas too. Like, even though a lot of it, some of it wasn't their fault, we can't give them a free pass. There was definitely some reps I watched on all 22 where they did not do what they needed to do. So that's all fine and dandy. Let's move over and say, hey man, we got a linebacker, by the way, who nobody's talking about, who we drafted in the 5th or 6th round out of Miami, who was the number 4 ranked PFF graded linebacker in all of the NFL. And that's a rookie, late round, day 3 pick. And is that just a freak thing? Or do we have something here? Do we have a really good young up and coming linebacker? That's something we could be happy about if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, he was all over the field. He had 5 tackles, a pressure, 4 stops. He was good. He was all 4 assists. Also, this was by far his best game, and you're just hoping that he gets better week over week, right? Because let's face it, 1, Quincy Williams is hurt right now, and number 2, he's on an expiring contract. They just paid Jamie Sherwood. Are they going to pay another linebacker? And if not, well, then you need to draft guys who can replace him and play that role. And I think you kind of want to see, can Maui Noah do that the rest of the way?
Very valuable thing, like you just said. If we now have for the next 3 or 4 years a guy that's going to cost us very little money that we don't have to pay to fill a position, that's a very big deal. Now, he could either be good or he's going to be great. We don't know. But even if he's just a good, solid starter, that's an amazing victory. If you get a good, solid starter in the day 3 of a draft, and now you have this cheap and expensive option filling, one of the 22 starting roles. That's really great for a football team, right? That's really helpful. And then, of course, we got to talk about Brownlee. The thing that we have to understand about Brownlee is he's a young guy who people really liked. The only problem with him was penalties. And if after what we just saw and the way he played, if they could fix the penalties and just cut down on those, if they could successfully get him to commit less penalties, then wow. Now we don't have to worry about maybe a trade Carter. I don't know what the dead cap is, because I know we extended him, but I think we extended him and it's been 2 years into the contract. We might be able to get out of that cheap next year and now have this guy at very low cost. This is all very helpful when you're building a team, to have guys who can play really well that don't cost you a lot of money.
I think you could save over $10 million if they decide to move on from Michael Carter, which, like the guy and like the signing, he was a good player for the Jets, but unfortunately, whether it's just injuries or whatever, he's not the same guy. And Brownlee comes in, his second play causes a turnover. They haven't had a turnover all year. Guy's in for 2 seconds and they forces a turnover.
It's almost like he said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah.
Showed everybody how to do it.
Yeah. And he's flying around, making plays. He's not afraid to tackle, which the secondary could use a lot of help in the tackling department. I think we could all agree there. There's a lot to really like from Jarvis Brownlee in this game.
Yeah. I think for everybody, with Carter, by the way, because I see a lot of chat in the chat about Carter, I think Carter got hurt and is not the same.
I think that's what it is too.
Yeah, I think it's a bad injury, and I don't know if it's permanent lost the step injury or if he's still a little hurt. Or whatever it is, he's clearly not the same guy. And I don't think it has to do with coaching, because covering a linebacker coming across the field or a slot receiver is the same job. It didn't change that much that he suddenly magically can't do this scheme, right? I mean, we used to see him get a guy coming across and be able to keep up with him and knock the ball down or whatever. And now we're seeing him, he lost a step. Now he's a step and a half behind.
Yeah, it feels that way.
Yeah.
Bang chimes in with a super chat, says Fields has a slow processing computer. You can't fix that. I mean, it's year 5 for him at this point, and it hasn't gotten any quicker. I don't think that is going to change.
I think at some point you have to wave the white flag. And even if in 3 years he does, let's say he goes somewhere else, the backup quarterback for 3 years, and then does it. You can't knock the Jets. Like, you can't wait that long. It's the same thing with Geno Smith. Well, why did we, blah, 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 blah. No. It was years later, right? Like, how long could you wait? How long are you going to play a quarterback? And how are you supposed to guess quarterbacks who don't look like they're working out? How are you supposed to guess, oh, this is the one that in 4 more years we'll figure it out? There's no way. There's no doubt about it. Justin Fields is now officially, I think we could believe and treat. He is a bridge quarterback. Hopefully he'll be the backup quarterback next year to whoever we draft.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go about it. Same point could be made for Sam Darnold. I know the Jets didn't give him much help, and that maybe could have gone a long way, but it took him, year 7 before he finally hit his stride last year in Minnesota?
Yeah, I thought he showed signs with us, but I thought Darnold showed signs with us. I was a little, I don't know. I wasn't 100% convinced. Like, because I remember all of us, when he went to Carolina, we were all worried. We didn't know he wasn't going to be good. We said, are we about to look really stupid? We didn't look stupid for a while. And I agree with you. I refuse to take his success now as us being stupid, because Carolina had him and let him go. They had Baker too. San Francisco had him and let him walk out the door. So Minnesota let him walk out the door, thinking McCarthy could just fill in for him. So there's a lot of teams that came after us that let Darnold walk out the door.
Yeah, it was not great, obviously. There was one from Sean McKenney here, a comment that I wanted to get to because it's almost that time. But he says, if the Jets trade Jermaine Johnson, I might just give the fuck up. We'll start with Jermaine. What are your thoughts on potentially trading Jermaine and then into some of these other guys who seem to be on the trade block?
I think that it would be absolutely apeshit crazy to trade him, because if you look at before he got hurt, first game of the year, what was our strength in that Pittsburgh game? One of the strengths was the defensive line, right? Both of our offensive and defensive line played really well that first game. Our problem with the defense was in the secondary. So JJ played well, and then if you look how he played this past Sunday, it's like reminding us of before his injury 2 years ago, his second year where he really started to emerge. We're starting to see that player. I want that player on my team for the next 5 years.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And the defense looked noticeably different with him out there. And two, I think he's a leader. And this defense and team could use more leaders and guys who don't sulk after losses. Did you hear his quote in the postgame? He was like, I'm pissed off that we lost. And like, he was very visibly still upset. He's like, I fucking hate losing. I'm pissed off that we lost. That's what I want. I want that. I want Garrett Wilson's reactions.
I want guys who don't like losing and get pissed when they lose, and are fed up with losing. And also he's got some swag. I think JJ's got some swag. Like, me, he feels like a star. He's good. But I always said what I love about JJ is, like, I don't know what his sack total will be, but you have to understand about Jermaine Johnson. If you look at the difference between, after watching Clemens and how many times you get caught on the inside and leave the edge wide open or get blown off the edge, look at how play after play JJ, whether he gets a sack or not, seals that edge. And the difference it makes on our ability to stop the run, ability to stop the quarterback from scrambling like crazy. He's a great player. We do not want JJ to we want him on this team. We want him to be part of the future.
That would be very upsetting to me if they decided to sell Jermaine Johnson now, especially too, they picked up his 5th-year option. He has another year left, right? Even if you're like, I don't know if we want to pay him yet. Okay, so ride it out next year. And if you're in the same spot a year from now, hopefully they're not, then maybe you have the conversation about trading him. But Jermaine Johnsons don't grow on trees. Their edge room is horrendous. They don't have the depth behind Jermaine Johnson to survive, as we saw. I don't like it. To me, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't know why people jump to get rid of good players. Like, can we hold on to our good players? Like Michael Carter, now that we have this kid Brownlee, if he's looking this good and it's showing in practice, and you believe that you can this guy could be a good replacement. We could save $10 million. Maybe somebody's willing to take a flyer on him, give us a mid-round pick. I don't know. Things like that. Who cares? It's like picking, like picking hairs, like worried about those kind of players. You got to build your core, man. Who are the guys we're going to build this team around? JJ, GW, you know what I mean? Membo. You got to find the guys, the absolute essential guys you're going to build this team around. There's a bunch of others we're not going to let go and we're going to build around, but you got to know who your core is and don't mess with the core.
How about, I know we talked a lot about Breece Hall last week. He had the Instagram comments this week, free 20. Now he did say today that it wasn't in reference to any trade rumors, but I feel like his name, Quincy Williams, Michael Carter, Alan Lazard, maybe to Pittsburgh, who's looking for a wide receiver. Do you see any of those kind of moves happening for the Jets?
All these moves would be great. Like guys that aren't going to be part of our future. Anyone that's not going to be part of our future, right? Like Breece Hall is kind of weird because you don't know. If their plan is that he's the running back for the future, if that's their plan, that's why they're going to hold on to him. If they weren't planning on paying him at the end of the year and they don't trade him, they're stupid. Because why would you hold him and then lose him for nothing? That doesn't make any sense, right? So, but guys like Lazard, of course you trade him if you can get something. What can we get for him? Why wouldn't we do it? Like, it's like, forget this. Anything. And I'm not saying tank. That's not even tanking. I'm saying, but let's be realistic. What, are we going to hold on to Lazard and not take a draft pick? What? Because maybe he's going to get a few receptions for us? I mean, it's not like he's doing anything. Reynolds is doing as much as he ever did for us anyway right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he makes sense. Breece, I just feel like it's coming. And it might stink, like we said last week, it might stink to see him, go to another team and put up numbers. But the vibe feels off there and like something's going to happen.
With Breece, the decision has got to be based on what their mindset is for the future. Is he part of their plan for the future or not? And that's what determines if he's tradable or not. And we could sit here and fight all day, and half the fan base could fight all day whether he should be the future or not.
We'll get into more of your comments in just a second. Shout out to the sponsor of the stream, Sleeper. Think you know football, then try to turn your football knowledge into real money with the Sleeper app, the ultimate fantasy sports app that can turn game day into payday. Really easy. You just download the app. You pick more or less on your favorite players. They give you a stat line. You pick two or more. You say they're going to go for more than X amount of yards or less than X amount of yards. You can do it pregame or live, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money if your picks come through and win. Use promo code O'Leary, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit, or their new offer, free $20. No deposit required. They're just giving a free $20 if you sign up and use my code O'Leary. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details.
Remember, it's great, but use the code O'Leary, not anybody else.
That's right.
O'Leary.
Yeah.
Nobody else that you might know. O'Leary is the code to put in there.
Yes.
Even if you found out about it from somebody else, not naming anyone.
Not naming names.
O'Leary.
Thank you, Jeremy. Look, the best salesman that I got. We got a wedding to pay for next month.
We got a wedding we got to pay for, guys. Come on. I mean, I got to make sure that he doesn't miss the bill and they take away the mashed potato bar, okay? Because I'm looking forward to that.
I'm calling off the wedding if that's the case. The whole thing off, canceled.
My mother was giving me advice.
Really?
About that mashed potato bar.
Okay. What was the advice? Let's hear it before we get into
Don't fill up too much on potato because they might have good steak, or go look and see if they're carving meat.
Oh, there's a meat carving station, but I'm going right to that mashed potato bar. Do a little bacon, some cheese on top. Hell yeah.
Well, there might not be bacon left by the time you get there. I might just take the whole thing and dump it on.
Dump it right on, you bastard. All right, we got to go to this chat from Thomas, which I'm feeling a certain type of way about. I'm sure you might feel very similar. He says, stop with 12 personnel, go 11, and let Fields improv. Jeremy, who are the three receivers you're running out there this week? Garrett Wilson's hurt. Josh Reynolds didn't practice today. You have Arian Smith, Alan Lazard, and Tyler Johnson. You want to run three wide with them? Give me three tight ends. I'd run 13 personnel at this point over running 11 personnel with the wide receiver group they have.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, maybe, in fairness to Thomas, hopefully he's considering the option of, if you're going to use 11 personnel, can we count Mason Taylor and line him in the slot? and use him as, and like I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like he's like, that's what he like. If you have two tight ends, but one is completely lined up as like a slot receiver, and you're using him clearly as a receiver, and you want to call or consider that 11. But I know let's just forget about this week with GW hurt and assume that Thomas means overall. Like when Garrett is back, or let's just play 11 personnel. I think no matter what, I agree with the thought of forget this trying to turn Justin Fields into something he's not. We're stuck with him. He's our guy for at least the rest of this year, if not next year, depending on what happens in the draft. Let him be the best version of himself, because we deserve as fans. We can't watch this, right? Let us at least have the excitement of what Justin Fields does bring. I want to see him improv. I want to see him take off. I want to see him running up and down the field, because we deserve to have something to cheer for. Not watch this guy who's not a pocket passer try to pretend he is one.
I got to ask our friend Dylan, friend of the show, Dylan Terraman. He, over the last couple of years, was tracking personnel usage, and I got to see if he has the numbers for the Jets right now for this year, because I'd be curious to see what the splits are. But especially, and all right, for Thomas's sake, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt with Garrett Wilson. But even still, you want to have Josh Reynolds and either Tyler Johnson / Alan Lazard in that third spot?
I think it's going to be Smith replacing Wilson. I think we're going to see a lot of Smith.
Okay. They have Brandon Smith up now too, so we could get.
We might see some of him, but I think we're going to see them try to use the speed. I think we might. I'm not saying I don't know 100%. I'm just saying I have a feeling that we might see more of this rookie.
I hope so. I mean, he only has 4 catches through the first 6 weeks. It's been very limited.
I don't have time to look at every player, but I've heard things like people saying he's open a lot. Like people from the games, people who have looked at it. There are people claiming that he's just not being looked at because Fields doesn't go through the progressions, and that this kid is burning people. And there are times where he has the step, and if they could just get the ball off to him, I don't know. So that's just what I hear. But then I see Reynolds, and Fields is managing to get the ball to him.
I'm messaging Dylan right now. I said, "Are you tracking personnel usage this year like you did last year?" On a stream with Jeremy, and called you out in a positive way. I'm curious what the numbers are.
Oh, nice.
We'll see what he says. I don't know if he'll get back to us while we're still live here. We got another 20 minutes or so, but yeah, I'm interested to see what that would look like.
I mean, Frankie is also, Frankie's does, in his videos too, charting on how often we're playing 11, 12, 13, the whole thing. So
let's go to Nose Kills up next. Says, which Jet has the best bang for buck in a trade? Say you'd get a first and a fourth for Q. It's unlikely to land a top 5 player plus a starter with those. You always lose. Best bang for your buck on a trade.
I think that he's right. Like, I'm not saying I want to do it, but I think Quinnen Williams brings you the most bang for the buck, because Quinnen Williams brings you, he brings you high quality pick, like a number 1 pick and maybe something else. And you unload a lot of his contract. So I think there's a lot of bang for the buck there, because not only do you get a draft pick, but now you have this extra money that you could use in free agency next year also. So you got money that you're paying him that you could use to get a player, and you get the pick. This is not me saying trade him. This is me just saying what if they did trade him, even if I was mad, and even if you're a fan and you're mad that they traded him, you could look at the positive in that way, that at least this is what it gets us in resource. And I can't think of another player that gets us more bang for the buck, because Sauce and GW, if you traded them, it's not realistic, because you'd have to pay out all the bonus money. Like the dead cap money would be crippling for us.
Can I give some pushback on the Quinnen Williams take there?
Sure.
Because I hear what you're saying, but assume you're trading Quinnen Williams. It's likely to be a good team, right? That you're trading him to.
I'm not loving this, by the way. I'm not saying we should. I'm not.
Yeah. No. I'm just. Yeah. Because you're probably trading him to a team that's going to make a deep playoff run. So let's say the
first round pick, like
the 27th pick, we'll say the chances of you finding a defensive tackle at 27 who's going to be as good as what Quinnen Williams is is very slim. Now,
Oh, yeah, you're not going to get a player as good.
right, and that's the tough part, and the bang for your buck conversation, where I don't know if that one fits as well. Now, if they just say, hey, we're gonna shuffle around our assets, and you take a wide receiver and hope you have a wide receiver too at the back end of the first round, then okay, like you probably have a pretty good chance of that hitting. But I don't think you're finding a top 5 player at their position if you're trading Quinnen Williams and drafting someone 27th overall.
I mean, it's not guaranteed. You might get a great player, but it's not guaranteed. But I mean, I'm also thinking about that money, because he's going to want an extension. He's going to want a restructure. He's probably going to want 30 million. So now you're not worried. You don't have that headache, and that 25 to 30 million could now be focused on that plus the guy. So you get a guy in the first round, and you have 25, 30 million more in your pocket to spend. Is all I'm saying. So, but I'm not a proponent of doing this. Like, I'm kind of torn with Q, because let's just hope he ages well, because I'm thinking by the time we're good, is Quinnen Williams still going to be Quinnen Williams?
Yeah,
that's the question.
What about Quincy? What do you think you can get for Quincy Williams in a trade?
I don't think you can get a lot for Quincy Williams.
Okay,
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get called crazy, but maybe even this is too much. I mean, fourth round pick.
I was thinking 3rd or 4th, and maybe I'm too optimistic with the 3rd. Maybe
I don't know. Maybe I don't I'm so bad at that. Admittedly, I'm the worst at that.
I think your chances. Now he was a second-team All-Pro a couple years ago, but I think you're more likely to find a linebacker who can start and play for you in the mid rounds than trying to replace what Quinnen Williams can do with the late first round pick. So if we're just going bang for your buck in the trade, like that angle that Nose Kill says, that might be the guy that you have the best chance of replacing with a mid-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, especially because you go by position, and we may even have it replaced. Like you said, we may have the guy. We just saw the guy. We saw the linebacker. We might have the linebacker to replace him. We might be able to use that. If it was a 4th round pick, we might be able to use that. We don't have to use it on linebacker, right? We could use it on, I don't know, what's another position? Center, guard, whether it's depth or a future starter, right? Because you can get a lot of those in the middle rounds. That happens all the time. Center, running back. You get some of the, 4th round pick, you get a top 5 running back out of the draft nowadays.
That'd be nice. Yeah, that'd be really nice.
A lot of the times, like if you rank the running backs, the 5th best running back out of college in a given year could go in the 4th round.
Yeah, that happens. That happens fairly often, and sometimes those guys hit, and sometimes it's at running back you can find talent on day 3 that turn into star player. Alvin Kamara was a 4th round pick, and he was one of the best running backs in the league for a long time. He's still doing it, for New Orleans. Or I know it didn't work out here, but Dalvin Cook was a late round pick.
I just want the organization. I just want to know that they're going to be ran properly. And to me, properly means we could argue all day. People don't agree on who's good, who's not good. I just want them to follow the simple formula. Decide if you want the player to be part of your future. If they're not in your plan, like if you don't think they're realistically going to be here in 2 to 3 years, based on where we are now, those are the guys you can shop around and trade. But I think when you make decisions on guys like Breece Hall and Quinnen Williams, I think that what they have to do as an organization is decide, are these guys that we're going to pay open the bag, give them the bag and whatever, and make sure they're here for this entire process. And if the decision is you want them to be here, then you don't trade them.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on it.
Simple. And we could and no one's going to be happy no matter what we do. Any of these players, if they trade them or not trade them, there's going to be disagreement, right? Like you name any player, part of this fan base is going to say you're terrible for trading them, and part of this fan base is it's stupid not to trade them. We're never going to avoid that. We're always going to disagree on players.
Yep. No, 100%. And it's a tough spot for this regime to be in. I wanted to pull up Dylan was available and sent over the data so I could pull up how often they're running the 12 personnel, because I was interested. I don't know if anyone else is, but I genuinely wanted to know. So
that young hot dog eating scrapper.
What was that?
I said that young hot dog eating scrapper.
There he is. So they do run more 11 personnel than 12, which is expected. That's how the league is for the most part. But what I'm noticing, Jeremy, is they ran the most amount of 12 in week 1, which is arguably their best, not even arguably, it was by far their best offensive showing, was that week 1 game. And then in games like Buffalo, they ran it 12. They ran 12 personnel 4 times, and they were 3 wide, 41 out of 48 plays. That was arguably their worst offensive showing. But I think they run more 11 than we think based on these numbers.
Yeah. I mean, look at the game against Buffalo.
Yeah, that one really jumped out to me. Maybe don't do that again. Don't run more 11 personnel. Let's reel in the 11 personnel, actually.
I think that they need to do what works. Frankie yells about all the time. Like last year, he would yell it all the time. Like he would figure out like what was working and he'd scream, why aren't we doing what's working? He does it about dime all the time. He screams about dime. It doesn't work. Every time we play dime, it doesn't work. And Frankie's yelling and screaming, stop playing dime. Stop. Like on defense, we are the worst. Like every time when we go to dime, they're getting the first down. Just mark it down. Like if there's a way to bet on that, does Sleeper let you bet on that? If it lets you bet on the next play on third down, if you just go into dime, we're giving up the first down every time.
Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you to Frankie for that.
Yeah, right. He made it very clear. He's like,
no more dime, and I'm saying less 11 personnel. Man, look at that Buffalo one. 41 out of 48 plays were in 11 personnel. Not good.
What's scary about that is like at what point that you said at no point to the game did they think this is not working?
yeah, right. Down 30-3. We gotta just keep ticking along. We'll get there.
I think by that time we just had guys. It was like we were passing every play. So,
yep. Jack Skellington chimes in, says, "Wish AG would just chill, bro. You're 0-6," and that was my initial point and reaction to today's comments. Like, are people going to complain if Justin Fields throws an interception? Yes, that's inevitable. But I don't think he needs to be as defensive as he is right now. Like I said earlier, like sometimes you got to just get up there and take your lumps. And when you're 0-6, that's the time.
I think it's okay to say, I mean, I don't know if it was an excuse, but like instead of like, I think it would have been okay if it's the truth to say, we didn't know if it was 4th down or 1st down, whatever. We had this confusion. We got thrown off and we weren't prepared. We just weren't prepared. There was confusion and we weren't prepared because if we had, and he didn't want to throw his quarterback under the bus because the real answer is you'd like to think in a situation like that, a veteran quarterback, like, can you imagine would have just freaking waited till, gotten under center. He would have called the audible of everybody just go to the end zone, snap the ball with 4 seconds left and thrown the ball up. Right. Like maybe he needed to have a veteran quarterback, maybe a rookie head coach and a confused, not playing well, Justin. There was no one out there to say, snap the ball at 4 seconds and throw the ball up. Like it's amazing to me that no one thought of that. No one was able. They had so much time as the clock was ticking down to say, just air it out as the last play.
Yeah.
They were caught unprepared. I wish he would have just said it.
Just admit it, dude. Just be, you know what? I wish I handled that differently. We know better going forward.
Right.
That's it.
Right. And it will never, you'll never see that mistake again. You'll never see that situation again.
And it's okay to admit that 6 games into your coaching career. It doesn't make you like, oh, you're a bad coach and you're putting yourself on the hot seat. No, if anything, it goes, hey, I realize I did something wrong. We all can improve. We all can grow and get better, myself included, and I won't do that again.
Right.
Simple.
Right. And say, I'm glad it happened, or not I'm glad it happened, but if it was going to happen, this is the time for it to happen, not, 2 years, 3 years into my tenure when I'm telling you we're going to be this great competitive team.
Also, our guy Dylan, after I gave him the shout out and he sent over the info, chimed in 68% 11 personnel, 24% 12 personnel, and then followed it up with he thinks we need to go spread 11 personnel or 12 and utilize the zone read more often. It does feel like they've gotten away from that, the zone reads, which we saw. I feel like we saw that more in week 1, no?
I mean, and he played well in week 1. So why? Why would we go away from that? Like, it doesn't make sense. I mean, anytime you use the word read and Justin Fields, I get nervous now because I got to learn how to discriminate, like the difference between, what reading he can do and what reading he can't do. Because when it comes to reading the defense and going through progressions, he's not showing the ability to do that. But maybe as far as going against zone, maybe there's a part of that is also a feel and an instinct that just works better for him.
I love this comment from our friend Jake Asman. Says Aaron Glenn has never made a mistake. Just ask him.
I thought that this offense, when we got our Justin Fields, was going to be lots of quick slants, lots of one look, check it down. I thought it was going to be almost look like the Mike White against Cincinnati offense,
which worked, right? It worked that week.
That's what I thought it was going to be, mixed in with a lot more running, a lot more mobility, right? A lot of plays where he just rolls out a little bit. That's what I thought it was going to be. And week 1 in Pittsburgh, when we were at the game, opening week, I was very happy with the offense we saw, and I would have been very happy with that kind of offense all year long. But I think the problem is the NFL adjusts, and you have to be ready that teams are going to take that away from you.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Sorry, I had a comment queued up and then I lost it after that super chat, but it was too funny not to pull up. Oh, it was going back to Dylan. So Thomas, who was the more 11 personnel guy, was saying that the week 2 Buffalo game, they were already down so big in the game. That's why they kept running the 11 personnel. So what we found out was 63% in the first half, and then that went up to 71.5% in the second half. I still think it's too much. They weren't really able to run the ball, though, that day. So I get it. I'm nitpicking, but my point is you have the personnel. You have better tight ends, or I trust the tight ends more than I trust the receivers. So that's why I'm really more advocating for the 12 personnel. But I'll spin it to you this way, Jeremy. You have Garrett Wilson injured. Reynolds is banged up, or whoever else is banged up. Is Stone Smart alive? Is Jelani Woods, does he have a pulse? Can they get them involved this week?
I mean, Jelani Woods hasn't been active a lot, right? So, but maybe this week you activate him because you're short receivers. I don't know. Mason Taylor's been fine. To me, it's just involved Taylor. When they've chosen to actually utilize him, he's putting up like the kind of numbers where he could be a tight end that gets close to 1,000 yards receiving. It's kind of crazy. In the couple of games that they started to actually look his way, I think we might have something really special in Mason Taylor. And I think people
I'm excited for him.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like, he catches everything thrown near him. Like, he's a vacuum. And he seems like a smart route runner. I think he's as advertised. I just think that for the first few weeks he was a rookie, and the way they were, like, the scheme, the way they weren't looking his way that much. And then when they started to, he's delivering. But Jelani Woods is a fun, kind of like an interesting guy that I would love to see based on this big giant receiver. Like, that Justin Fields wouldn't benefit from that, having like such a big target.
You would think, right? And just like, I don't know, get in a soft spot in the zone and box out and run 5 yards, turn around and just box out the linebacker behind you or the safety or whoever, right?
Yeah. I mean, again, and that goes also to what they were asking Glenn about, letting Justin, take chances. Well, if you're going to throw 50-50 balls and everything, Jelani Woods would be a nice, piece of the puzzle. And so would Brandon Smith. I mean, those are, these are the big, we have some big bodies. You got, if you want to start tossing up 50-50 balls, you got to, you got to utilize, those are the guys you have to utilize that's on our roster.
NY Guy 89 chimes in. He's up next, says, do you think McDonald's had calls come in for him, and what do you think it would take for the front office to make the trade? So Will McDonald, is that a name that you'd be interested in trading away?
You're asking the wrong guy.
That's true.
That's my guy. That's my double cheeseburger every sack he gets, kind of guy. I promised the world I'd eat 5 double cheeseburgers when he blocked that field goal. look, I wouldn't I think they should pick up the phone and listen. I think you should listen to anyone. Like you have to listen to offers, but it would have to be a very rich offer to me. Like it would have to be. I mean, we are weak at edge. We have this beautiful pass specialist, this rusher. He's a great athlete. You saw what he could do on special teams. I mean, I would not be looking to trade him, but I don't know about you, like anybody, like in fantasy football, do you not look at trade proposals? Like, obviously, you'd pick up the phone, but I think that the price would be very, very steep to ever consider, like very steep, like probably steeper than any other team would be willing to pay.
Right? And like, you need it's at a premium position too. You need edge rushers, you need a quarterback, you need offensive line, you need a receiver. That's why I don't have any interest in trading Garrett Wilson. I don't have any interest in trading Jermaine Johnson or Will McDonald. I don't want to talk about any of the young offensive linemen that the Jets have. But running back who's on an expiring contract, might be tough to see him go, but I would get it. A linebacker who's on an expiring contract after they just paid a linebacker $15 million a year last offseason, would hate to see him go, but I get it with Quincy Williams. Will McDonald, can you get a lot for him? You probably could, but are you going to be able to find someone who can give you the kind of production that he can? And I know the sack numbers have been quiet since week 1. I do think it was a product of how the rest of the defensive line was playing, though.
Sure. And you got to watch. I mean, he's like, obviously he gave us a chance to win that Tampa game. Right.
Yeah.
So whether it's in the form of a sack or not, I don't care. Like you saw what having an athlete like that could look like on the field. Right. And I agree with you. I think when we fix the other things, you'll see him looking better, right? Like it's complementary football. Good players make other good players better. If we have other good players, a good secondary, and our coverage is better, you're going to have more, then we're going to get what Denver got. We're going to get, they got it because Justin Fields took forever to flow the ball, and because there was good coverage, by the way. It's not like it wasn't every play. There were lots of plays where Denver had very good coverage. So same kind of thing. If we have good coverage, and their quarterback has to hold the ball longer, you're going to see more opportunities for McDonald that way. So I do think that as the defense gets better, he will look better.
Yeah, I think so too. And obviously you want your good players to dominate no matter what, but edge is such a position that's reliant on like everyone else doing their jobs, right? Like, because if you don't have the personnel, they can go, we're just going to take you out of the game. We'll put 2 guys on you, or we'll have a tight end come in and chip. And, if the defense, the secondary is not holding up, the quarterback's going to get rid of the ball faster. So if they start to cover better, like what we saw this past week, then yeah, we will see some more pressures and more sacks for guys like Will McDonald.
Yeah.
Last one, we're going to go to Matthew, who says Fields is playing scared and completely lost. I think scared is the perfect way to describe how he played against Denver. He was too nervous to make a mistake, and that was obvious by him not pulling the trigger and taking 9 sacks.
Yeah. I mean, look, I really think something was up with him, and I'm not making excuses. I'm not a Justin Fields truther or anything like that. Everybody who knows me knows I've been saying for 2 years, 2026 quarterback. It's been, for me, that's always been like the path we've been on for a while now. Unless we had traded down and gotten Dart, which I would have been really happy about at the time. I would have been fine with. But I think that the level of suckiness that Fields was, I feel like something was wrong, because it was even worse than what I've seen in his 4 years. Like I've never seen it that bad. Like Sunday was hard. So it was very hard to watch that.
Hopefully we don't see that again this week as the Jets take on the Carolina Panthers at home. But we have reached the end of our show here. The hour always flies by, Jeremy. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Look, at this point, man, I know people are yelling tank already. I can't do that. We got to get a win, man. I can't do this. I need them to win a game. We have to beat Carolina. Like we really. I don't know how long I could. Can people relate to what I'm?
No, yeah, I'm with you.
I
I
can't.
get it. If they end up losing games, fine. They're going to get a good pick. We'll be excited about that. They need a win. They need to get a win under their belt and soon.
Yeah. Yeah. This pain, I mean, it's not going to fix everything, or it might not fix anything, except just make me be able to have speech for the next, for a week.
All right, guys, that'll do it for us on this one. Thanks for hanging out. I'm Matt. He's Jeremy. We'll catch you next time.